What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Michael here with a brand new Fallout 4 build on FudgeMuppet, the Serial Killer. The Serial Killer appears composed and rather reserved on the surface, but beneath this misleading visage that smiles before the naked eye of the unsuspecting lurks a sinister brand of rage and stomach-churning sadism. The Serial Killer wields charm alongside the blades in his arsenal, garnering widespread love, affection, and trust before killing his innocent victims. Be highly cautious around this particular individual, for you may very well find yourself chained upside down on the verge of being sliced into digestible cubes or perhaps even skinned alive. For an immersive and enhanced playthrough of a serial killer, we're using melee weapons as opposed to ranged weapons for that emotionally charged up close and personal kill. The serial killer derives a lot of pleasure from his bloody habit, however it acts almost as a debilitating impulse of mental necessity that he cannot escape. Often unable to fulfill his desires precisely when he wants to, the serial killer will find himself like a starved wolf chained to a post, snarling and foaming at the mouth, wishing to hunt again. Obviously, he won't appear this way to others. To see this build in action during a Let's Play, you'll have to wait a couple of days. However, we've got our other fan favorite build Let's Play episodes linked in the description. Be sure to check those out and stay tuned for our new Let's Plays, or just wander about our channel to your own liking. And as always, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to FudgeMuppet for a whole lot more Fallout 4 and Elder Scrolls. We'll be covering everything in Far Harbor, and with that said, let's get into the backstory of this build. The serial killer was born to an influential family of bankers and spent his childhood days mainly in a stately manner, inherited from generations upon generations of similarly wealthy ancestors. The serial killer got on really well with those around him. However, to his parents, he seemed a bit shy. This was mainly due to the fact that he spent much of his life in the vast family library. It was here he would experience the most interesting people, the most fascinating worlds. He would consume great amounts of crime fiction, classic gothic literature, and philosophy regarding the nature of man. Later in life, as a young teenager, he would grow a tremendous obsession with the topic of human anatomy and medical sciences, and read lots about those things as well. While he seemed normal to others during his upbringing, the serial killer harbored some seriously warped tendencies. For example, it wasn't uncommon for him to sneak out of his house to kill and torture small animals, and to him it was almost a scientific procedure. He loved to study the reactions of his victims, and over time as he became a teenager, he graduated to larger animals such as stray dogs. The serial killer kept his feelings and actions hidden, and he felt no empathy for anything or anyone. He was really talented when it came to acting and could fake emotions very accurately. This had everyone fooled for as long as they knew him. However, at times, even the serial killer didn't know if he was truly psychopathic. He told himself that his keen interest in psychology and anatomy led him to commit his horrific actions, but doubt definitely existed at the back of his mind. At school, the serial killer was very popular and was decently charming too. He was on good terms with everybody. However, his great social status was threatened in his later years of high school when one of his crimes was discovered. Luckily for him, news of this never got out. He had been caught killing the family dog of a neighboring house. He was seen only by the father, who immediately went and told the serial killer's family. Upset by what they'd been told, they immediately decided to pay off the neighboring father with a large sum of money. They didn't believe him that their perfect, seemingly harmless son had done such a thing. However, they definitely didn't want their prestigious family name to be defamed. The serial killer pleaded innocent to his parents, who gave him the benefit of the doubt with no questions asked. To them, the idea was ridiculous. The serial killer graduated from his rich private high school without a single person finding out about his true nature, except the neighbor's dad, of course, and by this stage in his life, he had truly developed a very moral gentleman-like persona. He would always do kind things for other people and treat them respectfully, even though he didn't really care about their well-being. The serial killer didn't know what he wanted to do with his professional life. However, before he could decide after leaving school, he was conscripted into the military. Again, his family threw money at the problem, bribing government officials to release him from his mandatory service. Unfortunately for them, the serial killer decided that the military could be a fun experiment, and told them to stop wasting their money. His family pleaded him to stay with them, but he still refused. During his time in the military, the serial killer developed what was his peak physical prowess so far, becoming pretty strong and very fast. He also developed an immense taste for bloodshed. That said, he often felt dissatisfied with being limited to only firearms and explosives. He desired a more personal kill. After his military service ended, he returned a decorated war hero and, strangely, to the approval and affection of those who had frowned upon his decision. Years of studying human behavior led him to embrace this new type of social approval. However, it wasn't approval that the serial killer truly wanted. He wanted to enter a new lifestyle in which his bloodlust could be fulfilled. He decided that he would mix the enjoyable and intriguing social aspect of his life with his dark desires that he would keep so secret. The serial killer decided that he'd only preserve relationships that yielded him tangible benefits. All other relationships were allowed to be toyed with. It was clear to the serial killer that his psychopathic qualities had become amplified over time, and he had less control over them than ever before. He would now refine his actions and focus them solely on human beings. He would have to change his technique of murder, now selecting victims, building a relationship with them, subduing them into a secluded area, and slowly bringing himself to gratification through their painfully detailed torture and execution. Living this way for years without being discovered, the serial killer had truly found his purpose for life, and he loved it. Eventually though, the police started picking up on the murder trail, and fearing for his way of life, the serial killer decides to get married. He finds a young and friendly girl who he is able to seduce, and after charming her and developing an intense bond, they get married and end up with a child. This will provide a great family man cover and put him much lower on any suspect lists. Like most parents, the serial killer loves his baby, however he sees the child as an extension of himself. He wants to groom his son to be just like him, to experience the thrills that he enjoys, to share his passion. Everything is going perfectly to plan in his life until the bombs begin to fall and he's rushed into Vault 111. Though the serial killer does not care a great deal for the loss of his wife, the taking of his son will definitely piss him off. He was weirdly obsessed with his child and will want him back no matter what the cost is. The serial killer will also use this as an excuse to kill those who stand in his way. When he first enters the wasteland, the serial killer will be very excited by all the new opportunities that exist. His past victims were now nobodies, but so was he. He has been set free to indulge in his desire to kill, and will ultimately do so freely in a fashion very similar to his pre-war life. At first though, he will kill anything and everyone he can, until eventually he grows bored and realizes that he derives the most pleasure from the more risky kills. He wants to commit crimes that are dangerous, and take the lives of those who trust him. Betrayal will always add to the flavor of the kill. The serial killer will leave trails of mutilated and dissected corpses in his wake as he travels far and wide to recover his son. Two notable side quests he will delve into are the Pickman's Gallery quest and the Cabot House quest. In terms of factions, he sides with the Railroad. The close family-like dynamic serves as a source of normality he endures to prolong waiting to kill, thereby enhancing the quality of the pleasure when he finally decides to find and cut down a victim. The Railroad will of course be oblivious to his true nature and simply adore him for his efficiency and his gentlemanly facade. The serial killer will also bend the narrative of their seemingly moral cause to justify his murders, which will be especially fun in the final mission of the game. Obviously, after finding his son, the serial killer will be disappointed that he's so different from him. Also, you'll be getting Ballistic Weave from the Railroad. Looking at the start game special stats, the serial killer will begin with 5 strength, 2 perception, 3 endurance, 3 charisma, 5 intelligence, 9 agility, and 1 luck. His high agility is reflective of his combat style, not relying solely on brute strength, but being quick enough to strike before his enemies can. The special book found in Sanctuary will be used on Perception to increase it to 3. You'll then be able to bring it to 4 shortly after when you come across the Perception bobblehead. This will give the serial killer access to the Locksmith perk, literally opening the doors to many opportunities, and by opportunities we mean prey. 5 strength will provide for decent melee damage and will be increased later on to increase damage dealt. While 3 endurance won't be a lot of health to start with, this character will focus on stealth and try to finish the fight before it can really start. Later on, endurance is going to be increased a lot. 3 charisma will allow you to unlock the Lone Wanderer perk, and this stat in conjunction with his gear allows him to pass certain speech checks and be perceived as quite charming. 5 intelligence represents his abundance of knowledge and will make you level at a reasonable pace. The 9 agility will be great for perks and will also prove useful for plenty of VATS use. Now it's time for the making of a murderer as we go through every perk choice all the way up to level 50. Feel free to tweak certain things here and there to suit your own personal desires. Straight off the bat, you'll want to get the Big Leagues perk for that 20% bonus melee damage from the start. Remember, this build's main offense will be melee weaponry, so we'll want to prioritize our perks accordingly. Next, we'll be getting the Blitz perk, so we can basically teleport in VATS to use melee attacks. This will allow us to avoid taking damage as we close the distance between us and our enemies instantly. After that, we'll be getting 2 ranks of sneak in a row, making us 30% harder to detect while sneaking, and also no longer trigger floor-based traps. Remember that this doesn't include mines yet. As you can see, we're basically building the playstyle of this build as quickly as possible so you can use it for the majority of your playthrough. Then we'll want to get the first locksmith perk at level 6, giving us the ability to pick advanced locks. Being able to lockpick will help us to obtain more loot, but will also be really great for roleplaying. You'll be able to gain access to people's homes and murder them if you feel so inclined. Coming back round to Big Leagues at level 7, we'll be getting the second rank for plus 40% melee damage, and now it will also grant you a chance to disarm your opponent. Next, the serial killer gets the second rank of locksmith so that he can pick expert locks, and then over levels 9 and 10 we're getting hacker. With 2 ranks of hacker, we'll be able to access expert terminals, and in combination with locksmith, this gives the serial killer access to a lot of areas and loot early on in the game. By now, we've built a foundation for the character, however, he hasn't acquired any of the bells and whistles he finds himself with later on. At this stage, you should be progressing to level 11, at which time we'll put our first point into the ninja perk. This will make ranged sneak attacks do 2.5 times as much normal damage, but more importantly, it's going to make melee sneak attacks do 4 times as much. Obviously, ranged won't really matter for this build, so we'll just focus on the melee component from now on. Then at level 12, we're getting the third rank of sneak, making the serial killer 40% harder to detect, and now he'll no longer trigger enemy mines. I really love how sneak perks can be chosen so early on, and as you'd assume, it's going to be a massive help for this build. Now you'll be able to murder targets without as much fear of being discovered. Then we'll want to get the extremely beneficial perk Lone Wanderer, which decreases damage taken by 15% and ups your carry weight by 50 when you are traveling alone. This perk gets even better later on, as many of you may know. Next, we'll get the Action Boy perk, which speeds up your action point regeneration by 25%, and this will help with increasing VATS usage. Coming to level 15, we'll get our third point of Big Leagues for 60% more melee damage and an increased chance of disarming our opponents. After that, we'll be getting the second rank of the infamous Ninja perk, making our melee sneak attacks do 5 times as much normal damage, ensuring that all our kills are silent and quick. At level 17, it's time for Lone Wanderer 2, decreasing potential damage by 30% and upping carry weight by 100 when traveling alone. Following this, we get the third rank of Locksmith, allowing the serial killer to pick master locks. Usually we don't get the fourth rank, however this time we will be for role-playing purposes. Next, the second rank of Action Boy is picked to increase action point regen speed by 50%, and again this is done to increase VATS use. Coming to level 20, we finally get the Armorer perk, granting us access to rank 1 armor mods. This is of course important for Ballistic Weave. On to levels 21 to 30, we'll start off with Hacker 3, now giving us the ability to hack master terminals. Then at level 22, we'll put another point into Armorer to gain access to even better resistances. After that, we'll want to get Sneak 4 to make the serial killer 50% harder to detect while sneaking, and at this rank, running will no longer negatively affect stealth. As a nod to the serial killer's background in medical sciences, we'll get the Medic perk next, and this causes Stimpaks to restore 40% of your max HP, and makes Runaway remove 40% of potential max radiation. Now we'll put a point into Armor again to take the power of our suit to a whole new level. As a change of pace, at level 26, we'll take a break from perks and instead upgrade our overall strength stat by 1 point. This will help with more melee damage. Returning to perks, we'll get Big Leagues 4 to cause 80% more melee damage, and we'll get an added bonus of being able to hit all the targets in front of us. With one swing, of course. We then get another point of strength, and then at level 29 we get a game changer, the second rank of Blitz. At this rank, your VATS melee distance is increased even more, and you'll be able to cause more damage the further the Blitz distance is. This will help you out tremendously with all your kills, and makes the serial killer a lot more efficient for times when he's discovered or when he's forced to fight in the open. Finally, at level 30, we'll pop another point into strength, increasing melee damage and carry capacity even further. For this next perk, you will need the Strength Bobblehead, and if you haven't been able to get a hold of it, we suggest you change that right now. For the next 2 levels, we'll select the Rooted perk, and 2 ranks of this grants the serial killer plus 50 damage resistance alongside 50% more melee damage, all while standing still. Next, we'll get Ninja 3 to make our melee stealth attacks do 10 times as much normal damage, and this rank truly makes the serial killer absolutely lethal. Levels 34 and 35 will be focused on stat increasing, adding another point to strength and then a point into luck. Obviously, strength will allow this build to do even more damage, and luck has been chosen to give us access to the Bloody Mess perk. We choose this perk next over levels 36 and 37, and it's where we'll have some extra fun as the serial killer build. 2 ranks will make him do 10% more damage against everything, and it will also add the fun chance of your enemies exploding. After that, we'll finally reach rank 5 of Sneak, at which point we can lose distant enemies by engaging stealth. Next, the serial killer will max out his ballistic weave with the final rank of Armorer, and then at level 40 he finishes off all the ranks of the Lone Wanderer perk. Now he'll cause 25% bonus damage while unaccompanied. This is excellent in addition to our already existing damage enhancers from Blitz, Bloody Mess, Ninja, and of course Big Leagues. Coming into the final stretch of perks, we're getting the 3rd rank of Bloody Mess for 15% additional damage in combat. We're then able to finish off the Big Leagues perk at level 42. This will make the serial killer do double damage with his melee weapons, and he'll gain a chance to cripple an opponent's limb. He'll also gain a chance to Grand Slam their head clean off. After this, we'll select Locksmith 4 at level 43, where, congratulations, your bobby pins will never break from here on out. We think it's cool for this character to just carry one beast unbreakable lockpick. From levels 44 to 49, your cardio in this barren wasteland has finally paid off, as we'll place a point into endurance each time. And to conclude, for our final perk allocation at level 50, we'll choose the 2nd rank of Medic. Now this build is beefed up majorly for the later stages of the game, where Stimpaks will now restore 60% of lost health, and Radaway will remove 60% of radiation. The endgame special stats for the serial killer, including bobbleheads but not including gear, are as follows: 10 strength, 4 perception, 10 endurance, 4 charisma, 6 intelligence, 10 agility, and 3 luck. At the start of the game, the serial killer will don various random suits and other gentlemanly attire as to keep a low profile and mask his alter ego. He will use an assortment of melee weapons, preferably the best available early on, until he can acquire Pickman's Blade. This will be the weapon of choice until you're powerful enough to acquire Krem's Tooth. Krem's Tooth will be your main weapon all the way into the endgame, and we've got links in the description to guides we made that show you how to get both of these weapons. You'll want to start the Cabot House side quest as soon as possible to get Lorenzo's suit, and you will obviously not be siding with Lorenzo. After getting his suit, it will become your signature piece of apparel for the rest of the game. As already mentioned, you'll want to apply the Ballistic Weave modification on the suit as your Armorer perk progresses, allowing you to gradually build up some beast resistances. The suit also gives you +2 charisma, meaning that the serial killer will basically end up having 6 charisma for the majority of his playthrough. This will allow him to pass speech checks pretty often, and it will also make buying and selling prices a lot better. With breaking and entering all part of the serial killer's routine, he'll want to carry plenty of bobby pins so he can always lockpick his way into places and also into loot. After you've got the final locksmith perk, you'll only need to carry 1 lockpick. You'll often find yourself breaking into Diamond City homes to murder a new target. A lone wolf by nature, this build does not require the use of companions, as he operates best without them, in keeping with his Lone Wanderer perk and stealthy playstyle. If you find you do want some company, Nick Valentine is a valid companion choice. The serial killer could grow to appreciate Nick, as he reminds him of the detective fiction he held so dear as a child, and it appears that adventuring with Nick could work out pretty well with the Far Harbor DLC. And that finishes off our latest Fallout 4 build, the Serial Killer. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe to FudgeMuppet for more Fallout 4 builds in the future. If you thought the Serial Killer was really sensational, be sure to share this video around and throw us a like if you want more Fallout 4 content. Our social media links can be found in the description, including our Snapchat usernames, along with the links to all the guides we made that help this build. As always, I'm Michael, this was the Serial Killer, and I look forward to nerding out with you all again very soon.